Hello, let's move on with the presentation on strategies and actions that business operating in the gastronomic sector, which are the providers of unique local food and experiences, can face the challenges arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. I leave the speech to Maria Jose Vargas of the Center de Innovación Gastronómica, INACAP from Chile.
Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good night. It depends where are you from. And first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to share now and to tell you about all the work that we are doing from Chile, just a part of the work that we are doing from Chile. In the first place, I'm going to tell you that I work for a university here in Chile, and we have a gastronomy research and innovation center that was created in the interest of promoting and spreading Chilean gastronomy with the challenge of innovating. This is as part of the institution's work for more than 4 decades in gastronomy area. Part of the work focuses on the generation of training materials on various topics. Our contribution to dissemination has multidisciplinary perspective because we believe that kitchen is a space that convenes and brings together professionals from different areas. In this way, we contribute to promoting the development of the national gastronomic industry, recognize and disseminate heritage and culture, and finally contribute to well-being through food, pillars that move us to continue working and innovating in the field of gastronomy. The current situation, the world of gastronomy has been one of the most affected with this crisis. Along with tourism, it has been activities partially or completely paralyzed by the impact of COVID-19 due to quarantine, social distancing, and extraordinary hygiene measures, among others, taken by governments and authorities in pursuit to the safety of the population. But of course, all of that has affected to tourism and gastronomic industry. The challenges facing the industry as a result of the current reality being experienced in the wake of the pandemic has made us reflect as a center of gastronomic industry, has made us reflect and seek ways to support those working in the gastronomic field. We cannot be just see and wait what's going on. We are seeing how many restaurants and industries are being affected and including closing. So we being impelled to do something about it. That's why we decided to contribute to the training and dissemination of relevant knowledge around COVID-19. And that's why we develop reference material and support with suggestions and work protocols for gastronomic professionals. The INACAP Research and Innovation Center will provide a guide with practical measures and reflection for those in or related to the gastronomic world, which allows them to rethink their activities by taking the necessary precautions required by the health emergency, thus contributing to the safety of customers, industry professionals, and gastronomy students. I'm sure that in all of your countries, you have protocols and suggested measures, but I think the core of this work must be some general considerations, some reflections about the current situations. First of all, regulatory framework. Each country is developing and implementing a framework that will regulate the opening of places to serve the public when possible and according to the established measures. It is highly recommended to be informed of the new requirements established in your area, as they may vary from place to place. A second point, and I think it's very important, is training and protocols. This is a situation in which it is essential to train employees. We are not prepared for something like this, so it's, I insist, very important that you train very well, and in which the application of controls and protocols is really necessary. You can't risk anything just because you don't know what you need to do. Here, there's is an especially important point. I think that we all have we are being very careful about protocols, but sometimes we are not paying enough attention to workers' mental health. They could possibly require specific and specialized support. We cannot take for granted that just because you're following the protocols, the hygiene protocols, everything will be okay. There's also mental health that should be paying attention. Now, point number 3, COVID-19 and food handling. The current situation adds to cases in which cross-contamination can occur and is one of the riskiest factors to be treated and critical to ensuring food safety. It is essential to understand and forms of contagion and transmission of the virus in order to establish appropriate measures to avoid contamination. Each restaurant, institution, or workshop will establish the protocols that it thinks are most appropriate to ensure the corresponding hygiene conditions, not forgetting the basic health authorities' recommendation that must always be met. Number four, point number 4, clean and sanitize. Fundamental elements to prevent any type of contamination by COVID-19 are, as you may know, chlorine, soap, and temperature. It is known to be a highly infectious and very dangerous virus, but in the presence of chlorine, soap, or temperatures about 70 degrees Celsius, it dies quickly, 158 Fahrenheit degrees. Here's a point that I think it's really, really important, and sometimes we don't take the importance that it takes. Declare processes. I'm sure that the vast majority of the restaurants are taking the right measures, but it's also important to inform and be transparent about the hygiene measures that are being taken to ensure adequate conditions. That's because the customers are going to evaluate you about those measures, but not only about the measures that you're taking, but the measures that they already know because you're telling it. They will be the ones wanted to know the precautions and care that the business has implemented, and will certainly be an important factor when choosing between different places. I'm sure that TripAdvisor or other platforms related with the restoration industry are going to include in their evaluation not only good service or good food or maybe a very good location, but also some matters related with hygiene. So you're going to evaluate in that issues. Another point, very important also, is digital technologies. The pandemic has put the need to quickly migrate to digital technologies and or to improve existing one. These tools, obviously, they also existed and they have been available for a long time, but that we did not necessarily consider useful or practical for the operation or business model in place until a few months ago. So it's important now to include it in your business. And number 7, in this first part of our reflection, I think it's important a flexible business model. The situation facing the industry challenged the search for alternative and changes to what so far has been the traditional business model and delivered offering. Before opening, it is necessary to develop a plan so that this does not come as a surprise. Probably you will have to invest in some issues like thermometers or disinfection mats or maybe a face mask, etc. Install gel dispensers, establish the mandatory use of disposable gloves and masks, install paper rolls for dry and surface cleaning, and even suitable machinery for washing uniforms and tablecloth with hot waters. Those are matters that obviously you have to be aware of before start your operation reopening. Let's reflect about the most important points in your operation. In the first place, before starting work, you have to follow the protocol and keep track of suspicious symptoms of your employees. Ask each worker at the start of the day if he has or she someone close with COVID-19. If any answer yes, you have to follow the protocols and a quarantine protocol, of course. It's also important to the evaluation of the entry and exit of workers. Check that everyone washes their hands properly. I don't have to tell you how to do it. There's a lot of information about it. Check that those who enter the establishment change into clean clothes. Make sure that all workers wear masks and gloves. And if a cook brings working instruments, they must be disinfected before starting the day. The next step is during food production. Once employees enter a food production area, they must remain in it. If they go out, when they return, they must repeat all the protocols as if they were starting work, including changing clothes. In the washing area, strict cleaning and disinfection must be established. In the case of cutlery and cups, it is suggested to use a dishwasher that works with water at high temperature, and if that is not possible, the recommendation is to clean with a disinfectant solution and always dry with disposable paper. For dishes, a 5-minute soak in chlorinated water is suggested, and then washing with soap or a corresponding chemical for this process. The health regulations that not allow to use fabrics, as you may know, standardized record and control processes. These control processes and record it's very important so you may know what's going on and you may have the track record all the way. Another very critical point is when you are receiving merchandise from the exterior. You may have all the precautions that we have already mentioned, but if you do not do it when you receive the merchandise, it's a time when there will be an increased risk of contamination. That's because you don't know the conditions of packaging and transfer of products prior to entering the establishment. However, it is of the utmost important to work with the suppliers that ensure good traceability. Never allow anyone outside your operation to enter the place where food is handled. Establishing safe reception protocols has become crucial within the framework of the pandemic. In the case of packaging, protocols for disinfection of surfaces should be established, and in the case of vegetables, they must also be washed in solutions that ensure safety. The next step is when you are receiving your customers. It is likely that the law requires you to take their body temperature. If the client is going to remain inside the premises, request that they disinfect their hands by applying alcohol. Reduce physical contact with financial instruments such as payment points or credit cards as much as possible using wireless technologies. If this is not avoidable, for example, when clients enters their PIN code, then disinfect the surface after each use. Promote, of course, social distancing, consider the use of personal protective elements, intensify cleaning of common areas such as bathrooms and service counters, install explanatory signs will help too. I am sure that you all have this kind of protocols in your respective countries, but this material is going to be available if you ask for it. I hope that it will be a contribution to the current needs and concerns of the industry. However, it's essential to follow the recommendation and indication of the Food Health Regulation, good manufacturing practice and standards established by the Health Authority for food establishment. I think that this will be an opportunity for you to think about your business and to do things better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Presentation. If someone wants to type a question, so we can read it. And so I want to ask you something related to if you have some suggestion for tourist experiences, and especially is interesting for us in Europe, because we had the period of lockdown and the period after lockdown in spring and summer, and so we could use the external space, and instead you had a different situation, and so you leave the lockdown during winter. So can be interesting for us to know which kind of solution, because we spoke a lot, do the experiences outside, and so you can that it could be better and so on. And so I think it's more difficult to reorganize the tourism experiences when you have when we are in winter. And so which kind of solution in Chile did you find?
It depends of the zone that you are, just because we don't have the same situation in every region. Some ones are having a very strict quarantine, so they're not being able to open their businesses, and the ones that are opened are usually are being allowed to use terraces and occupy streets. So it's very common to now not be able to use your car in those streets because they are occupied by the restaurants, and giving them the opportunity to have a new opportunity, I think, and a new model of their businesses. I don't think we have a magic trick or maybe a magic solution for this that it's happening here, and I'm sorry, I was reading a question. I don't think we have a magic solution, but I'm sure that following strictly the recommendations of the health authorities, it's a very good first step.
Hello? I see that Maria is freezed. I don't know if you are the same situation. Okay. Okay, we had a problem with your connection, and now we see you. Okay. Maria?
With her connection.
I'm back.
Okay, great, fantastic. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I was saying that I think that one of the most important things is, in the first place, follow the health authorities regulations, and in the second place, being very creative. I know it's difficult and it's easy to say be creative when you're having a very affected business, and when you're being closed for so long, and maybe you're not being able to open just because of the economic struggles that you have been through, but I'm sure that we are so interested and tenemos tantas ganas. We are so eager to socialize and to see each other again, then that I'm sure that we're going to find a way to see each other, and in the case of Chile, to occupy streets and to occupy terraces. We're beginning our spring, so it's a very good season to do it. And I know in the North Hemisphere, it's different. You're beginning autumn and soon winter. So, and there's a lot of uncertainty in all of this. We don't know what's going to happen. It would be very easy for me to say, occupy the streets, go on with your terraces, but I don't know if in 1 month from now we are going to close again because the pandemic has been worse, or maybe the situation here in Chile is not under control. I don't know. We can only appeal to solidarity, creativity, and try to be optimistic about it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Two questions. This is just a curiosity. Have you noticed an interesting case study in enogastronomic business in Asia? In 2002-2004, many Asian countries suffered from the SARS pandemic. Do they already have an emergency plan to reach to the pandemic?
I'm not aware of that. I'm sorry. I've already read that question. I really don't know. I don't have any news about it.
Okay, we can start with the other question from Sandra. Regarding the use of technology, do you think it will become more relevant for service provision? For example, contactless menu, use of apps for ordering food and drinks, and so on?
I think it will be fundamental. I think it's a really, really must have in your operation. The main reason for that is that you're avoiding contact, but from that, you have the opportunity to show to your customers that you care, that you're bringing trust, that you are building a trust relationship with your customers. And that's the main reason I think that you must do it. And because today we have many offers of technology that are cheaper and easier to use. This is not something that you only think that NASA can use it. That is something that we all can reach and use it very easily. You just need a phone.
Yes, thank you so much. Later, I have to say that I will present something related to enotourism and the action related to COVID, and so I can speak a little bit about technologies and digital tastings too. Thank you, and see you in just a few minutes in the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Goodbye.